Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Captain Madison Lohman, and I will be the narrator for today's event. On behalf of the men and women of the 7th Airlift Squadron, welcome to today's Change of Command ceremony. As a reminder, please silence or turn off all cell phones and other communication devices. The site for today's ceremony is considered an indoor location. Therefore, military members are not required to wear their covers. However, military members will stand at attention during the appropriate times. Meanwhile, all family members and civilian friends should stand and place their right hand over their heart during the playing of the national anthem. As a quick safety reminder to all, there are 2 main exits in the hangar. Please take a look as to which exit is closest to you in the event of an emergency. Today, we pay special tribute to Lieutenant Colonel Suzanne Lonsberry as she relinquishes command of the 7th Airlift Squadron. And we welcome Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Westling as he assumes command. This ceremony provides an opportunity to witness a time-honored military tradition dating back in history. From ancient times, armies throughout the world have conducted ceremonies to commemorate victory over the enemy, to honor comrades in arms, and to celebrate special occasions as the change of command. In the Middle Ages, it was not uncommon for soldiers in the field to be unaware of who their commanders were. The formal change of command afforded the troops an opportunity to witness the proceedings and actually see their commanders. The host for today's ceremony is Commander, 62nd Operations Group, Colonel Sergio Anaya. The commander of troops for today's ceremony is the Director of Operations, 7th Airlift Squadron, Major James McCormick. And the guardian of the colors is the First Sergeant, 7th Airlift Squadron, Master Sergeant Eric Peters. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and remain standing for the arrival of the official party, the presentation of the colors, the singing of the national anthem by Mrs. Holly Diaz, and the offering of the invocation by Chaplain Taylor Walton.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
you are willing, would you join me in a word of prayer? Most gracious and good God, we thank you, dear Lord, for excellent leadership, excellent professionals, and excellent human beings. You look at each of us as your children, striving for us to do our very best with the gifts that you have given us. With this kind of love in mind, we can be assured that we are gathered today with the best Airlift Squadron, the 7th, when they celebrate their change of leadership, saying farewell to an excellent commander and person, Lieutenant Colonel Suzanne Lonsberry. We will miss her kindness, her leadership, her dedication to the mission, and care for her airmen. I ask a special blessing for the Lonsberry family. Keep them under your wing as they continue to fly. And dear Lord, in the midst of loss can come great triumph as we welcome the new commander, Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Wessling. Grant your compassion to strengthen this command with wisdom, insight, and vision as they continue to be the best and strive for excellence in all they do. Bless the Wessling family and the airmen who will follow. It is in your mighty and wonderful name that I say, amen.
Thank you, Mrs. Diaz, the McCord Honor Guard, and Chaplain Walton. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We are honored to have with us today Lieutenant Colonel Lonsberry's family, her husband, Jason, daughter, Evie, and sons, Wyatt and Bruce. Parents, Major Steve Tyndall, United States Air Force retired, and Brenda Tyndall. Also attending virtually, sisters Angela and husband Doug Heimer, Amy Hicks, Michelle and husband Tony Libertini. We are also honored to have with us today Lieutenant Colonel Wessling's family, his wife Brittany, father Mr. John Wessling, and attending virtually, mother Susie Wessling. Also in attendance, cousin Rebecca Henches, and in-laws, Colonel Andy Anderson, United States Air Force retired, and his wife, Letha. We'd like to extend a special welcome to our distinguished visitors, Vice Commander, 62nd Airlift Wing, Colonel Brian Collins, Command Chief, 62nd Airlift Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Timothy Hodgen. Lastly, we'd like to welcome all commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, community leaders, and the men and women of Team Accord. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Anaya.
Good morning, and thank you for being here for this special occasion. Colonel Collins, Chief Hodgins, Colonel Hull, Ms. Amanda Williams, Colonel Perez, thank you for joining us here today. But more important, I would like to welcome the families of Susie and Brandon, Jason, Evie, Wyatt, and Bruce, and Susie's parents, Mr. Steve Tyndall, Major retired, and Mrs. Brenda Tyndall. And for Brandon's family, Brittany, thank you for being here. Brandon's father, Mr. John Wessling, and I know she couldn't be here today, but I want to do a special acknowledgement for Brandon's mom, who's joining us here, along with a lot of families and friends joining us online. I would also like to thank our maintenance team, Colonel Perez and your team. You always come through. As all of you know, there's no operations group without our brothers and sisters from the maintenance team. This aircraft was not here yesterday, so you can imagine the amount of work that went to make sure this aircraft is here looking pristine for this special occasion. Last but not least, I would like to thank all of you who supported this ceremony. It means the world to the families, the planners, the entire protocol team, the honor guard, Chaplain Walton, our narrator, and what a beautiful rendition of the national anthem by Mrs. Holly Diaz. As some of you might know, Colonel Fasenbaker, Colonel Collins, and I had the opportunity to serve in the 7th Airlift Squadron many moons ago. And today we're here back at McCord, extremely proud to see how well the squadron is doing, especially under the command of Susie Lonsberry. The squadron always willing and always able. For the past few years, Colonel Lonsberry has led the 7th Airlift Squadron, a command tour that started 2 years ago at the height of the pandemic, and with all the restrictions that came along with it. You have to think of a change of command that didn't take place here, but it took place at the auditorium. And because of the restrictions, her family couldn't be there, the members of the squadron couldn't be here, not even the guidon could be passed to her because of COVID restrictions. I can only imagine how tough that had to be not having your family there. Yet, you didn't let this from stopping you from being the leader the squadron needed. In the face of adversity, you went on overdrive to build a culture and camaraderie that the squadron needed at the time, a hallmark of the 7th Airlift Squadron that dates back to 1933, and soon after, when members of the squadron were conducting missions in World War II, as it is during the invasion of Sicily, and missions such as in the hump in the China-Burma India theater. Like the challenges of the past, your command has been marked by many challenges, some of the most challenging times of our generation, such as the pandemic, the withdrawal of Afghanistan, Ukraine, and many others. And yet each time, Susie, you rose to the challenge without skipping a beat and without ever forgetting what matters the most, the men and women of your squadron. As the leader of the squadron, you led the implementation of the action orders as directed by the Chief of Staff of the Air Force in his strategic approach titled Accelerate, Change, or Lose. You also fought for your airmen to ensure that their families will have the quality of service and quality of life so that each of them could reach their full potential. As a commander, you were responsible for 140 airmen and their families, the same airmen that executed over 2,400 missions worldwide, delivering 14.7 million pounds of cargo. You also secured over $280,000 of technology and health upgrades to improve the working environment for your airmen. At the height of the withdrawal from Afghanistan, you were there in the middle of it when you deployed with 12 other crews to deliver over 1,000 soldiers to reestablish the security at the Hamid Karzai airport. This would eventually enable us to evacuate over 124,000 refugees in what will become the largest military non-combatant evacuation in history. For your leadership and your efforts and those of your crew, you were recognized at the AMC level as the General James H. Doolittle Trophy and the Crew of the Year. Looking back, I can only imagine how tough this was for you at the beginning, wondering if your command would be all about the pandemic. But now, looking back and thinking about the fact that your squadron was dispersed in isolation most of the time, looking back, we can all agree that you were the right person, the right leader to lead the squadron during these challenging times. Susie, I cannot think of a better person to have led the squadron for the past 2 years. Jason, Evie, Wyatt, and Bruce, I know I don't have to tell you all of this for you to be aware how awesome your wife and your wife is. But I want you to acknowledge this because only you as a family will completely understand the sacrifice that went behind all of this to make sure that your wife and your mom was ready to lead the squadron. For those of you that don't know, Jason, in addition to supporting Susie as the primary caregiver at home, he also ran his own business, and he was very successful at it, and also was instrumental in the Key Spouses program for the squadron. Frankly, I don't know how you did it. I'm going to ask you to join me in a round of applause for Jason, Evie, Bruce, and Watts. Susie, you know that I'm extremely proud of you. I'll miss your dedication to the mission, your leadership in taking care of the airmen, and your sense of humor. Susie will explain a little later more on that. Thank you for everything that you did for your squadron, the group, and entire Team McCord. Brandon, I've known you for some time, and I know you're no stranger to the task at hand. Throughout your career, you've proven yourself as a distinguished and a humble leader. In pilot training, Brandon graduated as a distinguished graduate, and he also garnered the Commander's Trophy. His first assignment was here at McCord as member of the 10th Airlift Squadron, where he was recognized for being one of the best officers and one of the best pilots. For that, he was selected to attend the prestigious Air Force Weapons School, where he once again graduated as a distinguished graduate, and he also earned the C-17 Flying Award. During his assignment in Charleston, he was a member of the elite Special Operations Low-Level Crews, and he held the position of Deputy Director for the entire Sol 2 program. During this time in Sol 2, he was forward deployed with Tier 1 Special Forces and was responsible for the planning and execution of capture or kill missions of high-value targets. He was also the mission planning cell chief responsible for opening the Al-Taqidam airfield in Iraq to blunt the effort and the progress made of ISIS at that time. For his remarkable leadership in combat and his distinguished record, he was only one of 28 officers out of 1,700 officers Air Force-wide to be selected for the prestigious Air Force Fellowship Program. Brandon would later serve as the military aide for the President of the United States. Actually, he served for 2 presidents, each one of them naming him, recognizing him as their #1 military aide. In this capacity, he was responsible to the President to ensure the President could execute the nation's nuclear command and control orders at any time's notice. As some of you might know, for the past year, Brandon has been acting as the Director of Operations for the Operations Support Squadron, where he has been leading the culture shift to better prepare the group in how we prepare to meet the demands of the peer-level conflict. As you can see, this is very impressive. But when I asked Brandon, what are you most proud of? He said, your time serving for the President. He said, your time in Sol 2 chasing bad people, your distinguished awards. No, his response, his wife, Brittany. Because in addition to being there for Brandon, and despite the often chaotic lifestyle of being married to a service member, Brittany has defied all the odds, and for the past 11 years, she has created and led a very successful strategic communication company. Brandon and Brittany, welcome to the 62nd Operations Group family. We're extremely proud and fortunate to have you here. I know you will lead the squadron well, and that you will take care of the men and women of the 7th. As I said before, the men and women of the 7th, they represent the very best of America. They are men and women of action, because when diplomacy fails, when debate ceases, and when negotiations fail, it is the men and women that stand before you that stand ready to execute of the orders of the elected officials, not because of what's in front of them, but because of who they leave behind. And now they're in your hands. Lead them and lead them well. They're always willing and always able. Once again, congratulations. Flight, fight, win. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Anaya. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please stand as Lieutenant Colonel Lonsberry is presented the Meritorious Service Medal. Attention to order. Lieutenant Colonel Suzanne L. Lonsberry distinguished herself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Commander, 7th Airlift Squadron, 62nd Operations Group, 62nd Airlift Wing, Joint Base Lewis McChord, Washington. During this time, Lieutenant Colonel Lonsberry was responsible for the welfare of over 140 airmen and their families and the successful execution of global C-17 Alpha airlift operations as a squadron amassed over 10,000 flight hours on 2,400 missions and 17 joint exercises, airlifting 14,000 passengers and 14,700,000 pounds of vital cargo across all 7 continents. Additionally, she fostered significant improvement to the squadron by implementing $280,000 of technology and health upgrades during the coronavirus pandemic, ensuring 100% mission execution. Moreover, when Taliban forces surrounded Hamid Karzai International Airport, Colonel Lonsberry rapidly deployed with 12 augmented crews, over 36% of the squadron, delivering over 1,000 troops to reestablish security, and ultimately evacuating over 6,400 of the 124,000 refugees in the largest military non-combatant evacuation in history. Finally, an inspiring leader, she motivated her airmen to garner 34 group and 6 wing quarterly awards, 5 professional military education distinguished graduates, and 3 Air Mobility Command Awards, including the General James H. Doolittle Trophy for her aircrew's outstanding performance during Operation Allies Refuge. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Lonsberry reflect great credit upon herself and the United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Now let's welcome Lieutenant Colonel Suzanne Lonsberry.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming out. I've been trying to write my speech for a few days. I finally got some notes on paper to Val, making sure I had something, but it's impossible. It's impossible to wrap up this tour. There's not enough words. There's not enough thank yous. There's not enough love. Everything about this has been amazing, challenging, wonderful, crazy. But the swords, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Major McCormick, please put them at ease. Thank you. They've been so phenomenal, and you see some of them here today, some scattered in the audience here, but the way our mission works is we're never all here together. We can never wrap our arms all the way around everyone, and I think that was the hardest part of getting used to this kind of a job and knowing how do we take care of people if we can't see them in the eye and we can't give them a hug. And I realized over time it's not something I can do, it's something I have to support. And there's been phenomenal leaders inside the squadron and across the wing and the group, and it's all of that together that makes sure these swords are out there executing the mission. So I do want to thank a few people, because it's very important to at least get those out. I know I'm going to miss somebody. I keep seeing people in the audience, and I'm like, oh, you too, but you guys really don't want me to go down line by line, so I'll stick to the mini script here. First, I've got to thank the wing commanders that I've been able to work with, from Colonel Curran hiring me back in the day, Colonel Stainpine, and now Colonel Fazenbaker. While each of them have a different vision, the trust they put in us as squadron commanders was always the same. They always had us, and it was always clear what we needed to get after for them for the mission. To Colonel Collins, thank you so much for being here today, not just as the vice and a mentor to the squadron commanders, but as the sword flying as an instructor in our squadron. It was always great, and it was always a game with him. He always wanted to sneak in because he didn't want to be the vice wing commander. He just wanted to be BC flying the line. I'm like, no, sir, it's Colonel Collins. We'll call the room for you. But thank you for taking care of the swords and being there for me. For my group commanders, starting with Colonel Langford and now Colonel Anaya, boss, you've made this job a lot of fun, and we couldn't have done it without your support and trust. You always had a clear commander's intent. We knew what you wanted. We know where you want to take the group. We're excited to execute that for you. But you've always given us commanders room to maneuver so that we can find the best way to get to that mission. Thank you also for just being a phenomenal coach and supporter. It's been fantastic. Colonel Perez, this is the best ops maintenance relationship I've ever worked with. I think our ability to just get to yes and not worry about whose fault it is or why it was late or who broke this. Sorry. You guys, we just get after it and we solve it together, and it keeps it fun and it moves things forward, and the trust that is there, it just makes it so much better for all of our airmen. So thank you to you and the entire maintenance group team. To the wing staff agencies, Ms. Williams, to the medical squadron and Griff, the comptroller, all the support that you guys do to help us execute the missions, it's just phenomenal. We appreciate it. To my other squadron commanders and ops, Ellen, Jeff, Nick, Thak, and Sean, you guys make this fun. I got to copy Kyle because he said it, but it's true. You don't feel lonely. They tell you it's going to be lonely as a commander, but when you have the other squadron commanders that you can call anytime, day or night, talk through anything, or just relax with for a minute, it really makes the hardest days easy. Kyle, especially for you and Candace, you've been my partner in crime this whole time, in war and in peace. And I can't thank you guys enough for Jason and I to have gone through this adventure with you. These 2 years has meant the world. So thank you. To our other squadron commanders, Wes, Zach, Griff, Doc, Kip, I saw Mika here, and Jammer, all the ABG. You guys are fun. Even if it's sitting in long staff meetings, we love the staff meetings, boss. They're great. Sitting in staff meetings or catching up at Habaneros on a Friday, you guys have been amazing. It's been fun to work with y'all too. So I'm sure I miss some people, but you can take that as representative of all the folks outside of the squadron that are helping us get it done. Inside the squadron, though, is where the leadership has just blown me away. I've been fortunate to have 3 different DOs, starting with Ellen, now a commander, Colonel Godwin, who recently retired, and now Major McCormick. I never have to worry about ops. I'm interested. I want to go hang on the ops floor because it's way more fun than email. But you always have had it. And I know as we look into what MAF4Gen is going to be and all the upcoming challenges, I know you're the right guy to lead the swords and make sure that we are executing the mission. The senior NCOs, Chief Wilson, Senior Castillo, now Chief Castillo, Senior Cromwell, who filled in for a few months, and all of our master sergeants, you taught me how to take care of our airmen. And I love you for it. I know that the squadron is a better place because of all the things our airmen do that I never even see. Because you guys are out there mentoring them and coaching them and showing them how to be a sword. And I just walk in, I'm like, everything looks great, everything's fine. It's perfect. Thank you, Chief. To our shirts, gone through 4 of these. You're welcome, Ellen. 4 of them, right? And they've been great. The hardest part, again, when you can't wrap your arms around people, is how do you make sure they're being taken care of? And with phenomenal shirts that we've had, that is how it is done. Starting with Sergeant Denham, Torres, who filled in, Sergeant Baker, good to see you here, ma'am, and now Sergeant Peters. They have been quick to just anything. I have a question on legal or medical, or hey, can you check on this person? And it's done. And they mean it with all their hearts. It has never been a checklist for them. They are sincere in their love and care, and think of if you've had a newborn, that's you for like the year that you're a shirt. It's like just always have your phone and you've got 140 people who might need you at any time. It can be thankless at times, all of you shirts, but you guys are phenomenal. Thank you for that. From all of the ADOs down to the youngest airman, I could go down and tell you all how much I love you, but I didn't even hack a clock, so I got to keep going. No, it's true, but I do want to highlight just a few that helped today. Captain Carl in the back, Lieutenant Bergman, Madison, Abby, the guys back here, everybody that put this together, Tommy GH, thank you. You were all busy flying, working your jobs, working on upgrades, taking care of other people, and you still managed to make this just a fantastic day. So thank you for that. Thank you as well to Ms. Diaz and Chaplain Walton. Chaplain, you're such a great support for our squadron all the time. Thank you for being there. Okay, almost there. Last one, Major Weinberg, best Finney ever. Thank you. He spent a weekend and then some plotting this crazy thing. We were airdropping swords and going to other drop zones with swords, and I don't know, it was cool, but I learned some stuff, I had some fun, and I don't remember everything that happened because I was just smiling so big I couldn't think. So thank you for the time on that one. It was a great way to finish up, and I appreciate you. Okay, these are the harder ones. I'm gonna do good. I got you. Okay, Mom and Dad, I'm so glad that you could be here this time. It means the world. To my sisters as well that are dialed in, Amy, Angie, Snick, Val, I love all of you. We've gotten used to it, I think, in the Air Force not being physically present and still being able to keep that love going, but I'm so excited that we're gonna finally be home and be able to see a little more. She makes really good cookies. I'm so excited. So good to be there. Jay, Tyler, Travis, Kevin, Sawyer, our Olympia family, thank you. It made it easier coming back and harder to leave this time. But we love you guys, and you've always had Jason and the kids when I was either gone or my hours were just ridiculous. And it just, knowing you guys had our backs and you've always been there for us has meant the world. Okay, I'm gonna get there. Jason, I love you. Yeah, you're the best. We got a couple of things for you if they can bring them out. But a small token if you're thirsty for you. And the kids, just a little thing. You guys are the best. You know I love you. I hope I tell you enough. But yeah, it's a present, Bruce. Don't mix them up because Evie's is a lot more expensive than Bruce's, okay? But thank you for just always having faith in me, and every night when we say what we're grateful for, so many more times than I deserve it, you tell me it's me. And I love you guys very much. Okay, I'm getting there. Finally, Wolf, Lieutenant Colonel Wessling and Brittany, it's very bittersweet to go, but knowing that you guys have the swords, I know they've got you. Knowing that you're gonna be up there leading them now makes this a lot easier. You guys are amazing people, and I know that Colonel Anaya's already bragged on some of that, but the swords don't even know yet how fortunate they are to have someone who cares so much, to have a team that's there ready to take care of them. And Wolf, I'm just excited and thrilled for you. You're gonna be amazing, so fly sharp. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Lonsberry. At this time, the men and women of the 7th Airlift Squadron will say farewell by honoring Lieutenant Colonel Lonsberry with a final salute as their squadron commander. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the change of command ceremony, in which the reins of responsibility will be passed from Lieutenant Colonel Lonsberry to Lieutenant Colonel Westling. Department of the Air Force Headquarters, 62nd Airlift Wing, Special Order Number GA22-07, under the provisions of Air Force Instruction 51-509, effective 16 June 2022. Lieutenant Colonel Suzanne L. Lonsberry relinquishes command of the 7th Airlift Squadron, and Lieutenant Colonel Brandon M. Westling appointed to command. Signed, Colonel David A. Fazenbaker, 62nd Airlift Wing, Commander.
Sir, I assume command.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, the 7th Airlift Squadron will render their first salute to Lieutenant Colonel Westling.
Present. March. Order. March.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present the Commander, 7th Airlift Squadron, Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Westling.
Thank you. Good morning. Swords, please stand at ease. First and foremost, Captain Carl, your team crushed this event. I appreciate the work that you, Captain Lohman, Lieutenant Bergman, Tech Sergeant Garcia Hernandez, Staff Sergeant Sant, Chairman Beechnow, and the setup team, as well as the Honor Guard, put into making this a sharp professional event. Ms. Diaz, that was an outstanding rendition of one of my favorite songs. Thank you. Chaplain Walton, I appreciate both your words here today and the counsel you provided the men and the women of the 7th Airlift Squadron. Although Colonel Fazenbaker couldn't be here today, I extend my gratitude both to him and to you, Colonel Collins. I thank you, gentlemen, for the trust and confidence to lead the world's sharpest airlift squadron here in America's Airlift Wing. Colonel Naya, sir, I appreciate your generous comments, and I endeavored to lead worthy of them. I know the 7th holds a special place in your heart, as well as Colonel Fazenbaker, Colonel Collins, and I intend to do right by your former squadron. To the commanders, ops officers, and enlisted leaders joining today, thank you. I'd especially like to highlight the OSS, maintenance, and airbase group members that I've had the honor of serving with over the last 10 months. The 7th Airlift Squadron and I look forward to continued shared success here at McCord. Brittany, your friendship and love shapes who I am every day. You're still the best president I've ever worked for. Thanks for continuing to move with me, even though it rarely makes sense. And any good that I've done is thanks to your support, and I'm far luckier than I deserve. To my parents, decades ago, you started me down a successful path, despite my best efforts to be a ski bum. I will always be grateful for the upbringing you provided and establishing the core principles I still hold on to today. To you, as well as Colonel Anderson and Letha, Brittany and I are grateful and lucky for your support. For some, it takes an army. For me, it took the entire joint force to guide me to this point. Brittany and I are grateful to have an absolutely incredible network of friends and mentors across the DoD and civilian leadership that has supported and guided us along the way. Thank you to those of you who are here and those of you that are watching. Each of you have played a role in our journey, and we're fortunate to have you in our lives. Lieutenant Colonel Lonsberry, Jason, Brittany and I are truly grateful for the friendship over the last few months. I'm humbled by the poised leadership you've displayed, guiding the 7th Airlift Squadron through some historic challenges our nation and the C-17 community have faced these last 2 years. It is an honor to pick up where you've left off leading the swords. We wish the two of you, Evie, White, and Bruce, the best of luck in your return to Texas. Airmen of the 7th Airlift Squadron, to join your team and help shape the future of air mobility is a journey fulfilled. I endeavor to never break your trust or respect or lose your respect. And if you remember anything from today, I ask that you remember the sword standing to your left and to your right. This air mobility life is one of constant churn. However, the things that remain constant are the relationships and camaraderie that we forge in the fires of conflict and global contingency. As we prepare for what the future may bring, I ask that you join me and your sword leadership team in looking after your fellow swords as the brothers and sisters in arms that we are. People around the world are counting on us to be there when others can't or won't. So I'm proud to stand here with you, willing and able to always be there for them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Knowing that success requires coordinated effort, the men and women of the 7th Airlift Squadron would like to present Lieutenant Colonel Westling's wife, Brittany, with a small token of thanks. We are delighted to welcome you to the 7th Airlift Squadron family. Ladies and gentlemen, the men and women of the 7th Airlift Squadron are proud to have served with Lieutenant Colonel Lonsberry as their commander. We welcome Lieutenant Colonel Westling as he assumes his new duties as a squadron commander. Please stand for the playing of and singing of the Air Force song and the departure of the official party.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Atom boys, give her the gun. Down we dive, spouting a flame from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame, we're down in flame. Nothing will stop the U.S. Air Force. Minds of men fashioned a crate of thunder, sent it high into the blue. Hands of men blasted the world asunder. How they lived, God only knew, God only knew. Souls of men dreaming of skies to
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending today's ceremony. There will be a reception behind you in the hangar honoring Lieutenant Colonel Westling and his family immediately following. Please remain in place until the family and guests have departed. Have a great Air Force Day.